Yo, what's good, you guys? So today we'll be making a guide to differentiating static versus dynamic types. Because this is one of the dichotomies that many people don't understand. A dichotomy that if you grasp it, typing people will become much easier. Now I'm going to be using a document my wife made with help of Raven and some other individuals to really gather the best information and actually show it in practice. The dynamic elements will be FE, TE, NI, and SI. Static elements will be NE, SE, TI, and also FI. Dynamic types are all the types that lead with a dynamic element, and static types are all the types that lead with static element. FI is a relational bond. It is an attitude. This is not dynamic. This is static. FE is internal motion. It is a movement. It is dynamic. Static versus dynamic is about how we consciously think about things and how we act. Types will talk or think about static or dynamic elements. You can often type people based on how they talk or what they talk about. Now, when it comes to dynamic types, they're often seen as low in mobility, less active. They are observing the movement of things before acting, and they will tell other people how to act. They can seem still or slow at times, even when they're being productive. Static types are faster. They're more impulsive. They do things more often. They place emphasis on adapting and responding. A great example when it comes to the difference of static versus dynamic types can be seen in the movie Furiosa. Furiosa is an obvious static type. She's quick thinking, adaptive, and she's impulsive.
We've come too far. Furiosa! Be invisible, still as a rock till I get back.
Now, Immortan Joe, on the other hand, is quite different. He is a dynamic type. Even when his sons spur on him and kind of need to do it, like, let's fight, let's do it now, what are we doing, right? Ape shit. He takes a very wait and see approach. He waits. He listens. Only then he makes a decision.
Shall I crush them, Dad?
Father, give me the war rig, loaded up with all of the firepower you have got, and I will blow him from the face of the earth.
How do we do that before he blows up Gastown?
We'll build it again.
Here's what we do. We conserve every drop of gasoline, turn off all vehicles, all generators, turn off every water pump, including the big 4 aquifer siphons again. At first light, leave for Bullet Farm with your tankers empty. There's no possible advantage.
We shouldn't have waited. Why are we waiting now? Let's go to Gastown now!
Mine's the fool's choice. Go out and meet an invisible enemy and crush him!
That's my choice. We make him think we're going to Gastown.
Similar case can be seen with Tywin Lannister.
But what makes a good king?
Holiness?
Baelor the Blessed was holy. He ended up fasting himself into an early grave because food was of this world and this world was sinful.
Justice?
Horus I was just. He was murdered in his sleep after less than a year by his own brother. Was that truly just of him? To abandon his subjects to an evil that he was too gullible to recognize?
What about strength?
Yes. King Robert was strong, and he attended 3 small council meetings in 17 years. He spent his time whoring and hunting and drinking till the last 2 killed him.
Wisdom is what makes a good king.
Yes, but what is wisdom? A wise king knows what he knows and what he doesn't. Wise young king listens to his counselors and heeds their advice until he comes of age. Wisest kings continue to listen to them long afterwards.
A dynamic type talks a lot about what should or should not be done. The goal here is to mentally activate and program people. In this clip, we see Tywin Lannister doing exactly this when he counsels Tommen on what makes a good king. Tommen, who is an SEI, is also dynamic type. Joffrey and Cersei are both static types. In this clip, you can see Tywin almost differentiating static and dynamic types. He talks about the importance of wisdom. He talks about the ability to listen. He compares this to the previous kings. It was often their irresponsibility, their impulsiveness, and their lack of foresight that got them butchered like a pig. Static types urge people to action. Dynamic types take a more wait-and-see approach. A dynamic type, when trying to assess what is wrong with a person or a situation, will want to watch or assess it when it's moving, rather than looking at particular parts. A dynamic type who is working in the medical field, when asking people about health issues, will ask what happens when they do certain things, how it changes. They don't just want to see the wound, they want to see what the wound is doing. When you compare this to a static type, they would more likely want to look at a symptom or a specific part. And a great example of this would be Gregory House, Dr. House. He focuses on individual symptoms and specific clues that will lead to diagnosis. His method is all about identifying static parts, each symptom or test result, and fitting them into a puzzle. The dynamic types talk all about dynamic facets of reality, while static types will discuss static facets. For example, the ESI, which is a static type, they will discuss FI and SE, and also TI and NE, while all the other elements will remain in the background.
I read something the other day about falling in love. Falling in love is like a war. It's easy to start, but really hard to finish. It doesn't really matter what I am. It doesn't matter what like my house looks like in InStyle magazine or what my clothes are. It doesn't. I like to read those things and I'm interested. I just don't want my life to be that, you know. I'd rather be. I like to hide behind my characters. That's what's comfortable with me. You know, I'm very private. So,
If they've written about my relationship with women, they've summed it up and made it not the beautiful thing it was. They haven't expressed what I'm trying to express. Right. They'll take it and they'll criticize it, or they'll do something. They'll make something nasty out of something that's so beautiful.
I think I was questioning whether all those that part of me that, you know, with my tattoos and my wild side and my darker side, whether that same person could also be one day a wife and a mother and a good friend and innocent and sweet and funny, you know, and could I ever be that, and was I really anything close to that?
The same thing applies to a dynamic type like the EIE, who will talk about FE and NI, also TE and SI, but will leave the static elements in the background. Now, in practice, when you see people who constantly talk about what they like and what they don't like, who is good, who is bad, who's a degen, who's a f***up, that is a static type. Those people frequently express their attitude. When someone talks about these things daily, they are a static type. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will be FI lead. Even FI creative types will do this. In the case of SC, people who talk a lot about money, willpower, beauty, goals, are paying attention to the static facets of reality. The best and most classical caricature, stereotypical example of this in the most extreme level, to the point where it is laughable, would be no other than Andrew Tate.
If you actually try your best, you can't lose. Not pretend to try your best, not try your best 90% of the time, not try your best with excuses. If you genuinely try your best all of the time, all day, every day, it's impossible to lose. God is watching and he rewards those who want it the most. If you want it the most, you can have it. It's a competition. Every dollar you want, the house you want, the car you want, other people want. You have to win. You have to want it the most and genuinely do your best, because most people aren't capable of doing their best anymore.
Dynamic types focus more on dynamic facets of reality, such as emotions in FE or impulses in FE. Dynamic types consciously pay attention on what someone feels on the inside, whether someone is angry, happy, or sad. This of course doesn't mean that static types can't recognize emotion. The ESI gathers this information unconsciously through their FE. However, for the dynamic types, it is a conscious process. LSCs and LIEs, they gather emotional information because their role is accepting, meaning that they are always accepting data. Dynamic types, particularly those with superego FE, are more consciously sensitive to other people's emotions. This distinction is very important because when you observe someone reading emotions or talking what is going on inside another individual, they are using FE. When they discuss why someone is happy, why someone is angry, or needs to change their mood, they are paying attention to that emotional process. FE lead types and even FE creatives can express those observations. You can see this in ESCs and SCIs, who may say that they can fix broken men or women, talking about mending what is going on inside.
I can fix him, no, really I can, and only I can.
Now, when it comes to NI, a dynamic type will talk about patterns and time, how things were in the past and how they will be in the future. The NI covers time, but also the internal process within time. SCI and the ESC are traditionalists who believe things should remain the same as they have always been. This reflects NI superego, not something exclusive to dynamic types. The superego NI types want to protect and preserve the way things are. For example, traditions. Tywin Lannister is a great example of someone who cannot accept change, and he wants Lannisters to remain the same, for them to remain as they were in the past, which is very superego NI behavior. Creative NI types, on the other hand, have a very different attitude to time. They want to disrupt it and they want to unshackle it, bringing the future to the present. They manipulate time and they break its rules.
There was an article in Scientific American which compared the efficiency of locomotion for various species of things on the planet. In other words, they measured how much energy it took for a bird to get from point A to point B compared with the energy it took a fish to get the same distance, and a goat and a person and all sorts of other things. And man riding a bicycle was twice as good as the condor, all the way off the end of the list. And what it really illustrated was man's ability as a tool maker to fashion a tool that can amplify an inherent ability that he has. And that's exactly what we think we're doing. We think we're basically fashioning a 21st century bicycle here, which can amplify an inherent intellectual ability that man has.
SI types care a lot about how people feel in a particular space. When people discuss discomfort, fatigue, how relaxed they are, this focus on sensation is dynamic.
I've always been like, that's kind of like inherent decorator. For me, like living in a house or being in a room is like tending to a living organism. You have to keep adding things to it, taking stuff away, and it sort of lives and breathes with you. When I actually needed a space to be quiet and, you know, to reflect on things, the house just became a completely different thing. It became a kind of sanctuary, and it's a place to kind of come back to and be perhaps calmer, quieter.
Now, for TE, it's people who talk a lot about work, methods of action, how things should be done. The SLI, for example, will extensively talk about practical work and will like working with hands.
It was a hard training camp, nothing was going right. Today was the first day I felt good, my feet were moving really good, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something pretty good today, and just happened to land some big bombs. Big shots in good places, temples, chin, just, it was too much. I was moving well. And
so that's it from me for today. Now guys, if you have any questions in regards of this static and dynamic dichotomy, ask down below. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't be a cunt. I'm Chowers and I'm bouncing.